day to everyone, and Dr. Wan. We are from Group 2, and today we'll be presenting a case study of Serba Dynamic Audit, Fiasco, which is one of the Malaysian most talked about corporate scandals. Our presentations will explore the background of the company, the ethical violations that occurred, the consequences that followed, and the legal actions taken. We aim to highlight the critical importance of corporate governance, transparency, and ethical financial reportings, especially in the eyes of investors and regulatory bodies. So I would like to give a brief overview, introduction of the Serba Dynamic, and what this does the nature of the products on my introduction page. Basically, Serba Dynamic is a Malaysian oil and gas service company, and they was incorporated in 2015 and become a public listed company in 2016. It grew rapidly, diversifying the service into oil and gas, engineering, procurements, constructions, maintenance, ITs, and even renewable energies. Now, why is this company important in the context of the study? Because it became a major example of ethical violations in recent years. These ethical breaches not only damage the reputations of Serba Dynamic, but also raise concern across the business environments in Malaysia. Stakeholders started questioning the company's integrity and the accuracy of financial reportings. So, in this paper and our presentations, we will aim to explore how these violations happens, what their impacts was, and what lesson can be learned from this case. So, next, let's talk about the impact of these ethical violations on stakeholders. When a company like Serba Dynamics faces ethical issues, the consequences go beyond just the internal team. Investors begin to lose confidence, employees may face job insecurities, and the overall economies can be affected, especially when the company is seen as a key player in a strategic industry like oil and gas. This highlights the importance of understanding not just what went wrong, but who gets affected and how deeply. Moving on the purpose of this research, our goal is to carry out a detailed analysis of the Serba Dynamic case. We aim to uncover the specific ethical violations occurred, analyze how they impacted the companies and its stakeholders, and finally suggest improvement such as better internal controls and preventive strategies to avoid similar incidents in the future. Now let's look a bit the background of the Serba Dynamic case. Firstly, the company's, I like to talk about the company's overview. Again, why just to remind us that what really we are focusing, right? So there are oil and gas companies that not only focus on oil and gas solely, but they diverse globally, right? In over 1 year, they expanded their global footprint into operations in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. The company offered a wide range of services, not just in oil and gas, but also in constructions, maintenance, ITs, renewable energy solutions. However, it took a turn in 2021, where in this year, the company came under a serious scrutiny when its external auditor KPMG flagged financial irregularities. This sparks a deeper investigations which uncovered major ethical of governance issues, including the financial misreporting. The finding was serious. Operating expenses were improperly capitalized, which means they were wrongly recorded as long-term asset into inflict profit. The company also reported mislead the performance metrics, like overstated revenue from projects that were either incomplete or didn't exist. This unethical practice not only violated trust, but they also raised red flags about internal control and corporate governance at Serba. Now, let's go into the consequences of this violation. The fallout of Serba was severe. The company's market capitalization dropped over 90% and its share was suspended from the trading. That wasn't just a financial issue. The company was pushed into a deep liquidity cases. But beyond the financial losses, the reputation damage was immense. It's eroded the trust of investors, clients, and partners. And once trust is gone, it's very hard to gain. In terms of legal action, Cyber responded by denying any wrongdoings. They claimed KPMG, their auditors, has acted unfairly and even filed a lawsuit against them for damage due to loss in investors' confidence and market values. What made things worse when the company's attempt to stop the release of report by East and Young Consulting, which actually backed KPMG's findings. This only raised further doubt about transparency and governance at Cyber. But beyond the financial losses, the reputation's damage was immense. So this is about on the case background. So now I would like to pass to my team members for the next slide.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Adam Muhammad bin Muhammad Razi with number matrix is 833009. I'm from MBA class student from School of Oya JSB, University Utara Malaysia. So today I will be representing about ethical violation issues in the Serba Dinamik cases. So there are 8 ethical violation of issues that were detected in Serba Dynamics cases. The first is cost misallocation, which a core ethical violation involved improper cost allocations. A critical managerial accounting function, Serba Dynamic allegedly capitalized operating expenses to inflate asset values and shifted costs to subsidiaries, artificially boosting profitability. These practices misinterpret financial health, misleading stakeholders, and violating principles of accurate cost accounting. The second one is unrealistic budgeting and forecasting. The company relied on overly optimistic budgets disconnected from the market realities. Aggressive revenue projections and underestimated operational risk created pressure to manipulate results, distorting decision making. Such flawed forecasting undermine trust and expose systemic negligence in aligning plans with actual performance. For the third ethical violation issues that happen in Serba Dynamic cases, which is misleading performance metrics. Management encourages unethical behavior through distorted performance metrics. Overstated revenues that were achieved via premature revenue recognitions or fictitious sales were tied to executive bonuses. This skewed focus towards short-term gain has eroded accountability and a long-term organizational integrity for Serba Dynamic. Next is a lack of transparency that happened in Serba Dynamic. Serba Dynamic violated the managerial accounting mandate for transparency by delaying disclosures and withholding material financial information. Opaque reporting prevented stakeholders from assessing risk, breaching ethical obligations to provide accurate, timely data. So the next one is audit irregularities, KPMGs, which is one of the auditors body that audit the Serba Dynamics, reveal unverifiable transaction, including questionable contracts and missing documentation. Weak internal control failed to detect fraud, exposing mismanagement, and these irregularities underscore the absence of the accountability in financial oversight. The next is transparency failures in professional ethics. The issues that happen in Serba Dynamic, which involves the managerial accountants ethically that ensure clarity in reporting. But Serba Dynamics opacity, such as concealing audit findings, misled investors. This breach of transparency principles exacerbated the crisis and damaged stakeholder confidence. Next is lack of accountability. The board and management evaded responsibility for discrepancies, dismissing auditor concerns instead of addressing root causes. This culture of impunity highlighted the erosion of accountability forwards essential for ethical governance. Last but not least, the ethical violation issue that happened in Serba Dynamic is the weak corporate governance. Ineffective oversight mechanisms allowed violations to persist, lacks internal controls, unauthorized financial adjustment, and its functional audit committees contravenes ethical duties to safeguard financial integrity.
Assalamualaikum and good evening. My name is Muhammad Sharil Azri uh, from Group 2. Today I will present the impact of the ethical violations towards Serba Dynamic. The first impact is the financial losses and operational disruption. The first financial losses is the market crash and financial collapse. Market cap plunged 90% in 2021. It from 6.5 billion it's only become 500 million after KPMG flagged RM 3.5 billion unverifiable transactions. Bursa Malaysia suspended trading and cutting liquidity. The debt and the cash flow crisis. Unable to service debt and fund project or maintain the cash flow. The creditor and supplier dictates terms, worsening the financial strain. The unethical accounting practice. The subordinate inflates revenue, must calculate costs and fabricated contracts, make an efficient creating a false financial image. This will they doing to shows that the subordinate in a good track and gain profits. The third one, market fell out and the stakeholder distrust. Shareholder value whip out. Investor confidence shattered and the result in several optional paralyzed. Proving how unethical accounting can dismantle a big company like Subordinate. The second impact is reputational collapse and loss of stakeholder trust. The industry fell out of client exodus. Once a homegrown success, Serba Dynamic became cautionary tales. Client cancels contract, investor liquidates positions, and partner withdraw, fearing legal or financial contingents. The global impact and the trust deficits towards Malaysia and the governance company. The tarnished Malaysian corporate governance image, deterring foreign investment. Media scrutinized frame the company as a symbol of the systemic corruptions in emerging markets. Breakdown of a stakeholder communication, lack of transparency and delayed disclosure alignment, investor, client, and regulatory bodies, proving that reputational capital can vanish overnight when the ethical failure surface. And the last impact is legal and regulatory repercussions. Regulatory crackdown. Security Commission Malaysia (SC) investigate false reporting and insider trading. Bursa Malaysia initiate delisting procedure. Legal battles and liabilities. Shareholder file lawsuit for misleading disclosure. Director and auditor face the personal liability for proving dubious transactions. Resources drain and management distraction. Legal fees and compliance costs strain the finance. Management focus shifted from recovery to litigation. Systematic impact and regulatory reform. Authority focus critics from oversight failure. Bursa Malaysia tighten audit rules, reporting requirement to prevent future scandal. The government paradox. Weak oversight enable governance products. Weak oversight enable, but service regulation can stifle business, highlighting the needs for the balanced corporate government. It shows that these three big impact that can be happen if the company are not or make the unethical uh, habits like Serba Dinamik. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anissa here. I would like to present regarding recommendation and preventive measure that can be involved in this rubber dynamic. For the first part, I can say they need to strengthen their internal controls by implementing transparent financial reporting system using standard accounting such as IFRS and GAAP. And also they need to do real time of ERP tracking, and independent auditors should be involved together. They need to enforce segregation of duties to prevent fraud and override risk. Second point that we can recommend for this Serba Dynamic is enhancing corporate governance by appointing independent directors with financial expertise, establish a robust audit committees, and ensure executive compositions align with long-term performance. Okay, so I go for the detailed one. Okay, for in the point of strengthening internal controls is divided for four, which is as I mentioned earlier, transparent in financial reporting, which involves accounting standards such as IFRS and GAAP should be complied by Serba Dynamic. And also they need to have ERP system which minimize human error and ensure real-time tracking of transactions that happens in the company. Third, they need to get involved by independent auditors, which they need to audit internal and external to assess the integrity of financial processes that's involved in the company. So for the fourth one is they need to segregate the duties. They cannot pull off one duty for the one person that have authority to do everything. Suppose be they need to segregate all the duties to prevent the fraud and ensuring single individuals are not controlling all the financial transaction. Okay, one of these recommendations should be applied to avoid whereby 3.5 billion questionable transactions that happens because of override controls of executives, and also the lack of poor segregations that happens on duties. Okay, next I can go for enhancing corporate governance. Okay, enhancing corporate governance are divided into 3 points whereby they need to have independent directors and dedicated audit committees and also review executive compensations. Okay, for the independent directors, they need to have independent directors whereby they have constitute a significant portion of the board to provide unbiased scrutiny of management decisions. Second one, dedicated audit committee. They need to financially literate members to oversee internal controls and the financial reporting of the company. For the third one, reviewing executive compensations structures to ensure bonuses are tied to sustainability performance metric, not short-term financial engineering. Strong corporate governance frameworks are essential to ethical oversight. Serba Dynamics boards face criticism for lacking truly independent directors, which compromise its oversight functions by fostering a culture of accountability at the top. Organization can deter unethical behavior before pyramids operations layer.
Hello, good day everyone that watching this video. So next, I will continue to present on recommendation and preventive measure part. So the next recommendation is promoting transparency and accountability. So basically, transparency is one of the most important pillar of the ethical managerial accounting. So without transparency, trust is easily broken and financially mismanagement can go unnoticed. So, organization must ensure that financial disclosure are timely, accurate, and accessible to the stakeholder. So, if companies delay or provide the vague information, it's create the uncertainty and also suspicion. So, a real example of this Serba dynamic will postpone the financial feelings and inaccurate disclosure that lead to a massive loss of the investor confidence. So had the company actually provide the clear and timely information, so the situation could have been managed more better. So to strengthen the transparency, three key actions must be taken. Firstly is timely disclosure, so that companies should release financial reports consistent, consistently and without delay, so that investor and stakeholder that rely on these updates to make the informed decision. So the second is whistleblowing mechanism. So, employees must feel safe to report their unethical practice without fear of retaliation. So, anonymous, anonymous hotline or reporting system should be in place to detect fraud early. So, the third is the in external partnership. So, auditor and regulator should have unrestricted access to financial records. So, finding must be handled transparently, not the hidden. So, by adapting this measure, actually companies can rebuild the credibility and align with the global ethical standards. So, this can attracting responsible investor and secure the long term of stability. So, the next recommendation is training and awareness. Even with the best policies, actually ethical managerial accounting cannot be achieved without the proper training and awareness. So, ethical decision making is not just about knowing the rules, but also about understanding their impact on business sustainability. So, one of the major failure in the Serba dynamic case was actually the lack of the ethical awareness at the leadership level. So management prioritize short-term financial gains, including executive bonus, over the accurate reporting. So if they had been properly trained, they might have recognized the danger of unethical accounting practice. So, to prevent such issue, an organization must focus on these three critical areas. First is ethical training. So, regular training program should be conducted for the employees and management to educate them on financial integrity and fraud detection, and also the responsible decision making. So, real life case studies can help them actually understand how ethical failure impact the organization. So, the second is managerial accounting tools. So, if the company got the advanced tools like budgeting software, predictive analytics, and also blockchain technology, actually can enhance the accuracy and also accountability. Also, by using the AI-driven forecasting, for example, can prevent the manipulation of the financial projection. And third is certification. Companies should initiative the employees to pursue the certification like the CMA, which is to ensure that financial professionals uphold the highest ethical and the technical standard. And additionally, ethical leadership actually play a crucial role in the shaping company culture. So when the top executive model ethical behavior, actually it set the tone for the entire organization. So a strong ethical foundation does not just prevent fraud, actually it enhances business sustainability and also competitive advantage. So, in conclusion, the Serba Dynamic Audit Fiasco is a clear example of how unethical accounting leads to the financial disaster. So, cost misallocation, inflated revenues, and also misleading performance metric that create a false sense of the success until everything is collapsed. So, this case actually proves that ethical managerial accounting is not the optional, it is essential for the survival. So companies must continuously improve the governance, accountability, and also the transparency to prevent similar failure in the future. So by learning from this case, the Serba dynamic case that underscore the indispensable roles of the managerial accounting in safeguarding ethical standard and organization resilience, so we can ensure that financial integrity remains a priority in every organization. So basically, the Serba Dynamic Audit Fiasco actually remind us that transparency and ethics are the foundation of the sustainable business. So let's ensure that history does not repeat itself. And thank you for your time and also the attention that given. And thank you again for watching this video.